Hey, what's up, nerds? It's Paul at Radio Free Hammer Hall. It's an exciting day. We just got the faction focus for Maggotkin of Nurgle. I've read through it a couple of times, and of course, it's like probably minutes after this thing went up. So I thought I would jump on and share my initial thoughts on this bad boy and jump into it. Spoilers, I'm really hyped for this. I think this is really great. And I'm really, I really like the changes that they made so far. All the stuff up at the top is really just fluffy background stuff. So battle traits. I'm not sure if this is all of the battle traits or not, but this is basically all of this is just like reworked disease mechanic. So first of all, once per turn, at the end of any turn, you pick one of the following. Either you spread disease to one enemy unit in combat range with one of your units, or you pick an enemy unit that's already diseased, and each other enemy unit within combat range also becomes diseased. Or if all enemy units on the battlefield are already diseased, they all take a mortal damage. That's pretty strong. I like that this is a lot less bookkeeping. It's either diseased or not diseased. And, our next ability, the Desperate Remedies, same thing as before. You can heal disease off instead of returning wounds to a model. And also interesting to this too, you can do it instead of returning slain models as well. Which actually, when we get to the next bit of this and some other things in this article, you'll see that, it might actually be better to heal off disease instead of just returning a slain model. Okay. So then we've got our last of these abilities, once per turn, end of any turn. Racked with disease, you roll a d3 for each enemy unit that is diseased. On a 2+, inflict an amount of mortal damage equal to the roll. So on a 1, it's not going to do anything, but you're going to do, on average, slightly less than 2 because of that 1. But this is, this makes it a lot more valuable on kind of like the back end, so to speak. This is going to be really dangerous to be getting diseased heroes. Right? Those lonely 5-wound heroes, they can just take a point of disease and then 2 turns later be dead. So pretty awesome. And this is going to be able to whittle down disease a lot more quickly. You're not dealing disease with damage anymore. Like you're not crit at a disease point, but this is just being next to stuff. And as we'll see, there's more things that spread disease other than just the battle traits. So very, very good. You're spreading disease. You spread disease further, and it's spreading faster throughout the game, and then you're consistently doing damage. So really good. Up next, we have the first of our 4 battle formations. This is the Taliban of Nurgle, which is, I think, very strong. From the second battle round onwards, add 1 to the amount of mortal damage inflicted by any of the racked with disease ability. So when you roll that d3 for mortal damage at the end of the turn, you're going to add 1 to it all the time for everything. So that's really strong. Makes me wonder what the other 3 are, or is this outsized strength, or is this just, because this is just going to give you an average of 8 extra mortal damage per game just out of your actually, no, what am I saying? It's for each roll. So this could do dozens of extra mortal damage per game. A lot. This is a lot. All right. Other rancid formations include bloated armies of Nurglite mortals that explode on death. So that was basically what the Blessed Suns did before. Legions of droning rot flies that breeze down from the skies. So basically what the drowned men did before. And then the menagerie of horticulturalists that plant feculent gnarl maws to usher Nurgle's garden into reality. I'm curious to see what that's going to do. Planting feculent gnarl maws is interesting. That's what Nurgle's menagerie basically used to do back in the first book. But it doesn't, like, we're not going to have a summoning mechanic, so it makes me wonder what those feculent gnarl maws are going to do. That's not included in this article. So we got a preview of one of our spells, Fleshy Abundance in the Lore of Malignance. So it casts on a 7, and you heal D3 damage to one of your units and subtract 1 from wound rolls that target that unit until the start of your next turn. Whoa. Just pick a unit -1 to wound. That's pretty strong. And healing. So double whammy. This is also unlimited, so I believe that means you're going to just be able to cast this off of all of your wizards every turn. Woof. That's going to make you very resilient. Very, very resilient. Up next, looking at units. Great Unclean one. This is forever my favorite unit in this army. I rarely take a list that does not have one of these bad boys in it. Just looking at the profile to start, 6-inch move. That is faster than he has ever been in the past. 4-up save, same as it's always been. Control 5, same as it was in 3rd edition. Health 20. He used to be 18. I don't remember what he was in the 2nd edition book, but it was less than 18 as well. His ranged weapon, better than it used to be. It used to basically be the same profile, except D6 attacks. Now we're at D3 plus 3 attacks. Hit on 3s, wound on 2s, rend 2 damage. This always did a surprising amount of damage. And now it's going to just do even more than it ever did before. Actually, I think it used to be Rend 3, but Rend 2 is plenty to get this through. You're going to be averaging 5 attacks off of this thing, and probably going to hit with, probably like 3 of them, even after armor save. So like 6 damage off of this thing, and it can shoot in combat. So very strong. Our other melee weapon profiles have been, well, first of all, they've been merged down to just colossal blight weapons and the host of Nurglings. The Nurglings used to be 15 attacks, but they decreased on the monster chart. So 10 is kind of more like the average of what you would usually get off of this anyway. But now they crit auto wound, which is going to make them definitely do more damage. And your colossal blight weapons, when you take 10 or more damage, it only decreases the attack characteristic by 1. And so our base is 4 attacks, 3s, 2s, rend 2, damage 4. So this is similar to the old Bile Sword from the 3rd edition version of this, but +1 to hit and +1 to wound in comparison. But we don't have like that second offhand to whack somebody with. But that's okay. And also, like, you don't need to worry about like WYSIWYG anymore. You just build up your Great Unclean ones however you want, and they're all going to have the same attacks, which I think makes sense. Makes things a lot easier. You just go with what you think looks cool. Once per turn per army, in your movement phase, you got your Locus of Nurgle. You pick a friendly demon unit that started the battle with 3 or more models that has been destroyed, and on a 4-up, you set up a replacement unit with half the number of models from the starting unit rounded up, wholly within 12 inches more than 9 from enemies. So this is one of the things we'll be getting, or maybe hopefully not the only thing we're getting in place of summoning. So we're going to be able to recur Nurgle demons as long as they started the battle with 3 or more models. So sorry, Beasts of Nurgle, unless you can take those in units. But, taking like a big block of 20 Plague Bearers and bringing back 10 is pretty good. I like that. All right, up next, Bloated with Corruption once per turn per army. At the end of any turn, if this unit has been damaged, pick up to 3 enemy units in combat with this unit to be targets. Roll a d3 on a 2+, inflict an amount of mortal damage equal to the roll. So this guy is just going to, like, if you stab him, he's going to bleed out disease onto everybody else. And then Plague Wind is his spell on his War Scroll. It just spreads disease, which is really good. I mean, we already went through what disease does. So this is just going to spread it around at range, adding to the number of things that get disease. So you can shoot this at a group of enemy units, and then at the end of the turn, spread disease to all of those units. And then the turn after that, they're all starting to take D3s every turn, which is going to be really good. Or if you're a Taliban, D3+1. Also, Wizard 2, so he's casting 2 spells a turn, and he's got a 5-up ward. And the thing that I did notice on all of this, all the War Scroll previews we got have a 5-up ward. It doesn't explicitly say that we have an army-wide 5-up ward, but for the bit down further, when they talk about Spearhead, they said everything in the Spearhead has a 5-up ward. So I would guess that means we probably have everything in the army for, full-scale AOS also still having that 5-up ward. Nothing exciting other than that in his keywords. So what is this guy really going to be doing for us? Well, his shooting attack is better than it's ever been. He is going to be leaking more mortal damage onto the enemy. He's going to be spreading disease more, and he's going to be recurring units. And, he is toned back a little bit on offense compared to, like, if you went with a really offensive build in the 3rd edition book. He's a little bit less than that just on his weapon profiles. But at the same time, everything in the game has been scaled back a bit, so that is expected. And it's kind of combining the idea of him being a damage dealer and a utility guy, which I like. That makes him really useful, flexible, versatile. This looks, even though we're just looking at a preview, this looks almost like an auto include in every list to me. I really like this a lot. Up next, we got Sloppity Bilepiper. His profile is basically the same as it's ever been. His bonking stick, 3 attacks, force 3s, -1/2. He's just a boring hero. He does also have his 5-up ward. And he's got his Jolly Gut Pipes back again. And so now, instead of this affecting all Maggotkin wholly within 12, you're picking one Maggotkin demon wholly within 12. We're rolling a die now, so it's not automatic. On a 2-up, you pick one. A stabbing, we will go. You add 1 to wound rolls for the target's attacks. So improving your offense. Early one evening, my pustule was seeping. Ward rolls cannot be made for damage points inflicted by the target's combat attacks. I like that this is an option, that this is like a thing that's situational. So you want to go offense most of the time, you'll do a stabbing, we will go. If your opponent has a good ward save, then you can punch through it instead, with early one evening my pustule was seeping. And then the last one, always my favorite name of anything in this entire game. My love is like a ripe fart. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by enemy units that target this unit. So that's basically what it currently does after it got errata in the 3rd edition book because it was too strong, preventing pile-ins. Gee, I wonder where they got that from. Hey, look, it was what was going to be in 4th edition. So I think, again, this is just really good. Not as strong as it used to be, just because his range is shortened by 2 inches. It used to be 14. And now you have to roll on a die, and on a 2-up, you apply one of the effects. So I like it, but I think he's still going to really be a strong asset in lots and lots of lists just based on this. Next, we got the Harbinger of Decay, and holy bejesus, this guy got an upgrade. His horse is a horse, of course. Moves 8, save 3 up, and health 7. So solid hero profile. His scythe, though, 3 attacks, 3s, -1, 3 damage, and crit mortals. So roll a 6 to hit, and it does 3 mortal damage. That's pretty punchy. He's only throwing 3 attacks, but man, that is still going to do some things. Once per battle, per army, in the enemy hero phase, you can pick up to 3 enemy units within 24 inches to be the target. Until the start of your next turn, subtract 1 from movement and subtract 1 from run and charge rolls for each of the targets. I don't know how I feel about this just being once per game. I mean, it's going to be useful, especially like if you're really trying to bog your opponent down, maybe early in the game, hold them back. But here's where the money is with this guy. He's a priest 1, so not too exciting there. Ward 5 up, as I had mentioned before. His prayer, Omens of Decay, goes off on a 4. Subtract twice the current battle round number from the target's control score for the rest of the turn. And then if the chanting roll was a 10+, it affects all enemy units within 12. So that is powerful. He is just saying, no, you don't control this objective because you're scared. Pretty awesome. I think this guy, depending on points, he's, I think, going to see quite a bit of play. All right. Let's see. Up next, we got our Blighty boys, Putrid blightkings. So some interesting profile changes on these guys. Still moving 4. They've gone to a 3-up save instead of a 4-up save, so more resilient there, but they went down to 3 health from 4. I haven't done out the math yet on what's actually going to be better. I think it's gonna be like, I don't know. I think the old was probably a little bit better, but we also still have our 5-up ward on these guys. They're blighted weapons, 4 attacks, 3s, 1/1 with no special abilities. So they lost their ability to do extra mortal wounds at the end of combat, and they lost 1 attack off of their blighted weapons. However, now we're adding 3 to the unit's control score while each model in this unit is contesting an objective you control. So in addition to that, they can take champion, standard bearer, musician. The standard bearer increases your control score by 1. So these guys all of them standing on an objective count as 9. That's a lot. So these guys are going to really be great at holding objectives. They're a little bit less offensive than they once were. But, again, profiles all got toned back on all of these things. Gonna be really hard to shift these guys. Then really quick, just looking at Spearhead, the box is 2 Blight Lords, 5 Blight Kings, 10 Plague Bearers, and a Spoilpox Scrivener. So looks like the Spoilpox Scrivener has to be the leader. And so demonic summoning, your Puscoils and your Plague Bearers start off the board. They come on in the 3rd battle round. So that's okay. You're basically starting with your Blight Kings and your Scrivener on the board, and then everything else comes on in turn 3. The diseased trait is interesting. Each time you crit, you receive a disease point. When you get up to 7 disease points, you're maxed out. Then at the end of any turn, you can spend your disease points, and for each point you spend, pick an enemy unit that is in combat with one of your units and roll a die. On a 4-up, inflict 1 mortal damage. So this is similar to the 3rd edition way disease worked, except instead of counting per unit, you're counting for like army as a whole. So they're just spreading lots of disease. That's cool. This is where it says, everybody has a 5-up ward. Then our Plague Bearers. This is very similar to what we had previously. 1 attack each, force 3s, no rend, 1 damage, but now crit mortal. Very nice. 4-inch move, 6-up save, control 1, health 2, same as it's ever been, and subtract 1 from hit rolls for shooting attacks that target the unit. So once again, this is pretty standard. I would guess that our Age of Sigmar War Scroll is going to be similar to this. So I really like this a lot. Like, I'm excited for this. So what is this army going to be continuing to do, as it always has been? It's going to be tough to shift, and it's going to do a lot of like a blade of mortal wounds, or I'm sorry, mortal damage now, spreading that around the board. I think I really like that disease is simplified, but at the same time, it's not it's not really like majorly powered down. It's streamlined, and I think it's going to be more dangerous now to your smaller heroes than it once was, but maybe less of a danger to some units. So, it balances out. I think it kind of makes sense that it's going to be worse for your heroes to get disease. The new Great Unclean one, very cool. I really love it. The Noxious Bile, I think, was always kind of a sleeper ability. It does lots of damage now when you roll well, but now it's like, the new one is you're always going to have a decent roll and you're going to vomit on people. So he's going to be a beater and have good utility. He's got a good spell. Everything looks like it has a ward. Sloppity bilepiper is still basically doing the same stuff he has always done, just giving decent buffs to your demons. A little bit more narrow, not as spreading his abilities everywhere as he used to be. Harbinger of Decay, wow, big upgrade, really big upgrade. That prayer is awesome. Combining him with the Blightkings, it really makes me think that the thing that mortals are probably going to do with this is increase their own control score and decrease your enemy control score. That's kind of the theme that I'm getting out of this. And Blightkings, they're just badasses, as they always have been. I love it. I am a big fan of all of this. The Spearhead looks cool. I'm going to be kind of coming in on the back foot with that a little bit, but that's okay. No, not a nerf at all, my dude. Not a nerf at all. I mean, everything is getting powered down a little bit. So I think that's reasonable. Yeah, based on what we've seen with everything else so far, like everything is getting nerfed a little bit, but this looks really good to me. This is really what I was hoping for. I love the way they've redone the disease mechanic. Less bookkeeping with still being very relevant. I think the way it spreads has a lot more verisimilitude to it. You know, I really hated that your disease score would like go down at the end of every turn, but now you're just throwing a token on something and then spreading it further every turn. So I like it a lot. That's going to be it for now. I'm excited. I'll talk to you all later.